Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
So, I heard you like it big.
I like big noses because, well, because you can kind of like sit on them.
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Fox Knives Eastwood Tiger designed by Gudy Van Poppel. And that's a huge mouthful, and I'm actually surprised that I actually got it out in one take. What we're going to be taking a look at today is something which is actually really different from a lot of the knives I bring out to you. I mean, yeah, it's a frame lock flipper, and it's black PVD and things like that, and that's not too unfamiliar. But I think the overall design of this knife, especially the way the handle is shaped, is going to be something that's going to appeal to a good amount of people. And I think it's going to open up the eyes of a lot of other people that have never really considered a classic design that is reinterpreted as a more modern design. And what I mean by that is having this almost hunting knife style handle built into a modern designed tactical frame lock flipper. It's a wonderful juxtaposition of styles, and I'll be honest, the very first time I saw this, I was very attracted specifically to the color combination with the dark tones and the beautiful blues. And I loved the blade shape, and I loved how massive it was, but I'm like, I'm not sure if I dig how that handle comes around the back. Like, but it looks really cool, but I don't really know. And I was really flip-flopping back and forth. So I figured if I'm flip-flopping like that, yet it's holding my interest where I keep going back to look at it, there's going to be other people that went through the same thing. So I wanted to get my hands on one of these and show it to you in close-up detail and compare it to some other knives and give you an idea in more realistic terms if it's the knife for you or not. Now, there's a trick to this. As I was researching these, because I had seen this version, I believe it was just in a picture, and then I had seen the name of it, and I started looking, you can't find them. At least in the U.S., you're not going to get one from a U.S.-based dealer. Luckily, I know the guys over at Tools for Gents over in Germany, and I sent them a message. I said, hey, I see you've got a few different variations of this model on your website. In particular, the one that I want in titanium with this dark finish. Is there a way I can borrow one from you to do a video? Because A, I want to satisfy my own curiosity, so I'm probably going to end up buying it from you if it's what I think it is. And secondly, I think a lot of other people are going to be interested. And without hesitation, almost without even messaging me back, I think he actually printed out the label and began shipping it before he even told me he was going to go ahead and do it. And I got to tell you, there is a lot that I like about this knife. Now, there are a few little nitpicks that I have, and we will get into those. But there's a lot that I like about this knife, and I think there's going to be a great appreciation from a lot of people for it. So what I want to do right now is get to a few of the pictures that I took. Then we're going to go to the tabletop review and get a nice, close, detailed look at this knife and see if you see the things in it that I see. And let's explore some of the little things that maybe we'd like to see changed. Because with any luck, the designer of this knife might be watching, and he might be able to influence a few changes in the future with Fox Knives. Who knows? I really don't know, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But overall, is it worth the $300 and the shipping from Germany to get your hands on one? Well, for exclusivity's sake, I'd say yeah, because you're probably not going to find a lot of people in your life, even in the knife community online, that are going to have one of these in the U.S. So that's pretty cool. But is it really worth your money? Are you going to carry it? Are you going to use it? Is it that impressive when it gets there? Let's find out together right now. All right, so let's get this going. As you see on the packaging here, this is a product made by Fox Knives. So what you're looking at here is a really high quality Italian-made production knife. Now, if you only buy custom knives, then you can, I don't know if his books are open, but you can just simply order this model from Gudy Van Poppel on your own. But if you're looking to save some money, because a knife like this would probably run you around $1,000, you could spend $300 and get the Fox production version. Fox is based out of Montiago. They're absolutely some of the finest knife makers as far as production knives go in the world. The quality is amazing. Their heat treat is amazing. Now, they don't always make knives that are enormously popular in the U.S. because we have a lot of different needs. We follow a lot of different trends. You know, we want those super snappy flippers with really crazy detents and drop shutty actions, as unfortunately that has been benchmarked. And there's very specific things that you hear from a lot of American collectors that they're looking for that Fox really doesn't cater to, but they are very, very, very fine knife makers. So now again, what I want to do is point out the fact that I did get this from toolsforgents.com. I've known Richard for a little bit less than a year now, but we've talked quite a bit back and forth. He's a really, really super guy. Absolutely head over heels in love with knives. So he does what he does out of love and passion, not just to make a quick buck. So he sent along some cool swag to go with the knife. That's a hell of a big patch right there. That's cool as shit. And then there is a coin. Coins are pretty cool. Tools for Gents 2022. Can't read it. Oh, there it is. Toolsforgents.com. That's where you would go. Very slick. Very, very cool. All right, let's get these out of the way. And as Fox says, we make it sharp. Yeah, they did make a sharp knife here. It is pretty darn sharp. And I think this is just your warranty info, things like that. And then we'll get to the good stuff here. This is the leatherette pouch that it comes in. It's actually really nice feeling. Okay, let's get that bad boy open and see what's inside. Now, it is listed as a black PVD titanium frame lock flipper. I look at it as a very dark gunmetal. I want to be very clear. Black is black. This is black. This, to me, as a designer, as somebody that's worked with a lot of different colors and finishes, this is what we would call gunmetal, like when I was making watches and things like that. So it's a far cry from what actual black is. So please do keep that in mind. But that's exactly how it was represented in the pictures on Tools for Gents. So it's not like I thought I was getting a black knife and I got something different. No, what I was attracted to was this dark gunmetal gray finish against the blue. That was actually what initially drew me to this knife. They have many variations, some that are in fat carbon to be a lighter weight knife, some in different finishes of different materials. This was the one that grabbed my eye. I think the other ones are nice, but this was the one I went, I want that color combination. And then I saw all of the milling, and I thought that was really attractive as well. I didn't pay a lot of attention to the shape of the handle. I did see it, but I was more concerned with the color combination, the milling detail that was done, the gear style backspacer, the fact that all the screws are titanium and they were also anodized. It really gave a great look. And then the other part was the blade. I love this beefy blade. I love the shape of it. It is unlike anything else I have in my entire collection, and that was another reason I had to have it. I wanted something that really stood out in my collection. This knife absolutely does that. Let's talk about specs very quickly and get that out of the way. I promise to be as quick as possible on this so we can get down just to the knife itself. So here we go with the specs. Your overall length, 8.94 inches. This is not a small knife. Blade length of 3.74. I'm going to call it 3.75, so it's 3.25 inches. It's a big, beefy blade. Blade thickness, 160 thousandths thick. Now, for a knife this size, that's relatively thin on the blade thickness. And I'm going to give you some comparisons here in a moment. If you wanted a beefy overbuilt knife, like, you were buying a Direware or a Skyke or a Medford or something, this would be at least 200 thou thick. This isn't. This is only 160 thou thick. So a lot of people, I think, are going to be attracted to that. It's also going to be much better for the cutting geometry as well. Blade steel, S90V, super premium steel. Love to see that. Rockwell, they're listing between 59 and 61. That is an enormous gap. I would rather hear 59 to 60 or 60 to 61. 59 to 61, well, it doesn't sound like a lot numerically. It is a lot on the hardness. It really, really is. So I don't know if this is leaning toward the softer 59 or the harder 61. There's no way to know unless I took the knife apart and did a hardness test in an area that you couldn't see. I'm not going to do that. It's a titanium frame lock done in a PVD coating along with the blade done in a PVD coating. And all of your hardware is titanium and anodized, including the clip, the backspacer, all the hardware, all the screws, the pivot, all that. All titanium, all anodized blue. By the way, really tricky to photograph because the ones like the pivot that are satin that give a very radiant finish, the lights would catch that differently and it would want to go teal. I had to do color correction, which is something I don't really like to edit my photos at all, except for maybe a little bit of cropping or something. And I had to do major color correction because you could see right here that that is the same color as that. But in my photography under my studio lights, these came out as the royal blue they are, and this would come out as teal. So it was just really, really strange the way that worked out. The clip is done more in a matte bead blasted finish. So the blue is just ever so slightly different. Not noticeable, but it is ever so slightly different. And then there's that gear-shaped backspacer. On the backspacer, you have the lanyard opening as well. So you've got a hidden lanyard post. So if you love to use lanyards, you're going to be super happy. If you think lanyards are terrible and everybody that uses them should get cancer because it disrupts the flow of your knife by having either a slot or a big hole somewhere in the design, then you're going to be happy as well. There's nothing that interrupts the flow of the design to the eye. It's it's hidden away there in the backspacer. That is one of my favorite ways of knife companies doing lanyards. As you see, you will have a steel lock bar insert as well. So you're going to have steel on steel lockup against the blade. Look at this. Look how flush this is. Look how they concern themselves with the flow of the design when the knife was closed and just manufactured this perfectly. For those who don't know, Gudy Van Poppel, I am most likely mispronouncing his name, and I do apologize for that. I'm not very good with international words. I'm sorry. Gudy Van Poppel, also known as Poppel Custom, P-O-P-L, for the brand name Poppel Custom. He's actually from the Netherlands, so he's Dutch. And he makes, in my opinion, some rather uniquely styled handmade customs. He has a way of blending old world classic design and themes and modernizing them just like he's done here. Like I said, this is more of like a hunter's type of knife, the way the handle is shaped. You might want to say fighter, but it's not really a fighter because this isn't brought down into a finger guard or anything. But the way that it hooks around the pinky, certainly a lot of fighting style knives were done in this manner. Also a lot of hunting style knives. But he's modernized it into a modern looking tactical style flipper. And I dig it. That was really what attracted me to this knife. And that really is his design language. That's what he does really, really well. He's also an actual bladesmith, not just a knife maker. So he's been forging his own steel for the last 30 years. He's also collaborated with other brands. So he's got the collaboration here with Fox. He's done collaborations with We Knife and done other collaborations to make affordable variations of his customs. Now, to the things that you really want to know, how big is it really? In practical terms, how big is it really? Well, here is the Peña Mula. You guys know that this is one of my personal favorite knives that's on the inexpensive side. And this is the size of knife that a lot of people carry as an EDC. It's got a 3 1/4 inch blade. So when you put that up against this, holy crap, that is a huge difference. A really, really huge difference. However, it's not any thicker. The blade stock is only a little bit thicker, and the handles are the handles themselves are a little bit thinner, but the overall width, the overall thickness is just about the same. Yet you have this enormous size difference. So if you're used to carrying a knife this size, it's going to feel really, really big. Let's give you another comparison. Up against the EMP EDC Nimble X, which is the larger version of the Nimble series. It even makes that look more like a medium-sized knife, which it really is. It's a 3 1/2 inch blade. That is generally considered to be a mid-sized knife by most people's standards. But this is, for a lot of people, the largest size that they're comfortable carrying every single day. This is going to be larger. It's also going to have that much, much beefier blade. What's the thickness difference here? Almost none. So it's got a wonderful balance of being really big and really in your face, but because it's thinner, I think for a lot of people it's going to be a lot easier to pull off. Let's do a couple more. Two of my largest knives, my Pohanlu Hamachi, the very first Hamachi that was ever made. It is just about the same size, almost identical. But this one's so much taller, so much bolder, and it's going to be, I believe, a lot thinner. A lot thinner overall. About the same blade stock. If you put it up here, you can see it there. So there's a difference there. And one final one, really the big bad boy in my collection, my custom Tim Gallion Junkyard Dog Eagle Edition. That's a whole bunch to say. And when I was telling you guys in that video what a monster that is, there you go. This, as you just saw, is a big ass knife, okay? This still dwarfs that. So it gives you an idea of just how big the XL Junkyard Dog really is. Now, what are my thoughts on this knife? I got to tell you, there are areas of opportunity that keep this knife from being a favorite. I really like it, and it carries very well, again, because of how slim it is. But there are areas of opportunity. Let me give you a weight on this, because we did not discuss that yet. Man, that's almost 7 ounces, 6.8 ounces. Frame of reference, typical EDC knife, 3.6. Yeah, I mean, so you're looking just about half. On the larger EMP EDC Nimble, 4.3. So yeah, there's significant differences here. And it may work for you, it may not. I don't care about the weight generally. I'm usually wearing jeans, so it doesn't really matter all too much to me. Where are these areas of opportunity? Well, there's actually quite a few. Number one, the curvature of this flipper tab and the fact that it's a naked flipper tab, it really, you have to concentrate to make sure your finger doesn't slip off when you're trying to flip it. It really should be shaped either a little bit more straight or even a bit concaved. And it also desperately needs jimping. Really, really needs jimping. Even if it's on just that corner, but I would do it all the way up the front face and all the way around the top. That whole thing should have jimping. It needs it. It really does. There are definitely times where I'll actually hold it differently so that I'm coming at it like this instead of like this, just so that I'm sure my finger won't slip off the finger tab or a flipper tab. It flips well, but it's not a rocket. You can fail it if you don't push the flipper tab just right. So the detent should be a little bit sharper. I'm not saying it necessarily needs to be much stronger. Adding a little bit of lock bar tension. I don't know how deep set the detent ball is, but there's a combination there that probably on the customs he nails. I don't want you to think this is a reflection of his custom work at all. This is a Fox Knives production knife thing. The detent needs to be sharper. I should feel that detent break. Even something like on the Galleon, which does not have a strong detent, you feel it break. And by the way, this is on washers. This is not on bearings. And you see how fast and how smooth that is. It is the perfect detent break. Even this little guy here. And we're talking same price range. Very, very good detent. And you can hear it fly open. You can feel the snappiness of it, no matter how you choose to open it. And this, while it flips open perfectly fine, but you do have to pay attention to it. You've got to hit that flipper tab right, just to make sure it's not going to fail. And when it goes, it goes. And it's satisfying, sounds nice, feels nice. It could be a little bit smoother. You really got to give it some good shaky. I've had this knife for over a month. I've waited this long to review it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted that action to break in a little bit more. It has not changed. It is the same action that it was from day one, so keep that in mind. And I wanted to spend a good amount of time with this because it is the size and shape of it. I think a lot of people may look at the knife and go, that is gorgeous, it's unique, it's cool, but man, it sounds like it's going to be too big. It's nearly 9 inches in overall length. I wanted some time to carry it and feel it and see if it was going to be cumbersome. And it's not, because of how slim it is. Even though it's heavy, even though it's tall, and even though it's long, it carries very, very well. Now, again, I don't have much of a problem carrying larger knives. It doesn't bother me like it bothers some people. If you're the type that really likes to stay in that 3 1/4 inch blade range or 3.5, and you already know that you do not like going larger, then I'm not here to change your mind. But if you're on the fence and you're like, it's acceptable to me in that size, if it carries well, if it's balanced well, then yes, this is going to be a great knife for you. The pocket clip retention is awesome. It's got just enough of a ramp to where you don't feel like you need to pry this open. It'll glide right into your pocket and it holds in securely. It comes out very easily when you're intending to take it out. The pocket clip is perfect. I also like the design. For a basic bent clip, which I would normally despise, I would want, you guys know me, I want a sculpted clip on everything. I just want it to be something nicer. But they did a great job on this. The shape of it's nice, almost has a spoon shape. And just by adding the holes, just added a little bit of character to it. It would have been nice if there were a couple of holes in the frame somewhere, so that matched up with something. Otherwise, right now, it's just kind of a standalone concept, which makes my internal designer's eye twitch a little bit. But I like the look. I just wish it was tied together with something else. That's all. But overall, would I suggest spending $300 on this knife? I have carried this knife enough. I have gotten a certain degree of enjoyment from it already. To say that if I had laid out $300 plus shipping and waited all that time for it to come in, and I would not have been disappointed. No. There is some good news, however. The other variants of this knife that are done in, I believe there was a bunch in G10, but in carbon fiber and everything else, they're less expensive. So you're going to get a unique design that very few people in the US even know about, let alone own. And you've got a lot of different options in the blade finishes, in the handle materials, in the finishes of those handle materials. These are done as exclusives for Tools for Gents. So if you're not buying from Tools for Gents, even if you found someplace that actually did have this model, you're not going to get these combinations. I've seen at least 5, minimum, at least 5 different completely unique variations that were made as exclusives only for Tools for Gents. So you're going to have to do your shopping there. And by the way, they have no problem shipping to the US if you live in the US, because they're in Germany. I got this knife, I want to say it was 5 days, maybe 6. No, I'm sorry. It took longer because it got held up in customs for like 3 days. So I apologize. It did take about 8 or 9 days. And that was only because of customs. I watched it sitting in customs on the tracking for several days. But their shipping was fast. It got out of Germany very quickly. And once it was released from customs, it got to me very quickly. So that was the only hang up. So my apologies. I didn't mean to lie to you. I like it. I like it a lot. For the times that I want to carry a larger knife, and why would I not want to reach for this? And this dark theme, this dark gunmetal. Look across your collection. How many knives do you have in a dark gunmetal gray? I would venture to say very few, if any at all. You probably have a lot of black knives, but I'm pretty sure you don't have very many in a gunmetal gray. And this blue against the gray pops so well. Now, I don't want to get you too hung up on this color combo because everything that they've been doing as collaborations with Tools for Gents has been limited runs. So I don't know how long this particular color variation is going to be around. But there are a lot of different options available to you. See if I can get my camera to focus close up here. There we go. Because I really want to show you the overall lines of this knife. I love that deep, deep swedge on the clip point a lot. Very minimalistic branding, just the Foxhead logo there. The milling is really, really nicely done. Catches the light really well. The PVD finishing is really, really nicely applied. They did just a bang-up job on the finishing of this knife. And by the way, all the fitment of everything is great. The lockup, the centering, the way everything is fit is done perfectly. There is Gudy Van Poppel's maker's mark. It is marked S90V, made in Italy. Isn't that blue gorgeous? Really looks great. Looks like they got a little discoloration on the inside of the back spacer when they were anodizing it. It's not rust because, well, it's titanium. Titanium can't rust. So, but there's nothing showing on the exterior at all. There's your steel lock bar insert. Now that detent is pretty proud, isn't it? It's really sitting up there. So then I'm going to have to blame the detent on probably the lock bar tension, which I felt was pretty sufficient. But I don't know. There's definitely a way for certain that they can make this more like a rocket. Like I said, it's perfectly acceptable. It just could be a little bit snappier. That's all. But again, it's really a US thing, isn't it? All right, I'm going to get out of here for now. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the tour of the Eastwood Tiger. It's so close to being perfect. Changing that flipper tab, adding some jimping, maybe putting some jimping up on the spine of the blade, a few little things like that, and I think it would be perfect. I know a lot of people may not like that rear hook around the pinky. It may take away from the aesthetics for you, but I'll tell you right now, it feels really, really good in the hand. There's a comfort level to this knife that I think everybody will enjoy. With that said, I'm out of here, and I'll see you on the next video.